Now, I'm not here to stoke your selective outrage and historical amnesia, but I am here because we almost have the computing future that we see in classic science fiction like Star Trek, and I'm here for it. I mean, yeah, it's going to be good. Now, full disclosure, Supermicro paid for my trip to GTC and NVIDIA let me in, but I'm here for the future and future technologies, and boy, there was a lot of that at GTC. I will never not be for reason and rational advancement of mankind, but there's a bit of a gap from that to OpenClaw and agentic AI, and why OpenClaw became the most popular open source project in history in just a couple of months. FOMO, tulip bulb mania? Maybe. Or maybe it's a bit of a window into the future. You know what's funny? Nobody cared. Nobody panicked. Nobody stood up and said this is dangerous when Amazon was building Amazon Web Services, AWS. The vision was simple. Automate everything. Servers, infrastructure, put an API behind everything. Originally, this was built so that Amazon could grow and scale. It was a singular decision by Jeff Bezos that turned Amazon from the world's biggest bookstore into a $1 trillion company. In time, entire companies were replaced with Amazon APIs, and people cheered. It was scalable. It was efficient. It was game-changing because it opened up big infrastructure to small teams. Instagram, when Instagram agreed to be acquired by Meta for $1 billion, it was just 13 employees, 13 people. Nobody called that human creativity is dying. Nobody said, that context is like, automation is replacing people. Instagram simply couldn't work economically unless millions of users could be handled by a single engineer. We know for a fact that 3 engineers handled 13 million users in the history of Instagram. But now the machine can think a little bit, can act a little bit, it can run tasks while you sleep, and suddenly everybody loses their mind. It's AI slop! That's the entire online discourse now. It's like there's no honest curiosity, there's no desire for understanding, it's just reflex. There's a great irony here. If you stop for a moment and think, the motivation for folks like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk to control the largest online platforms is to control the messaging and to control that. It's like the barriers for entry to small teams to build platforms for millions of users, though, if the express purpose of that was accountability, the barrier to entry for that is lower than ever. So that's the part that really gets me. We've been automating intelligence-adjacent work for decades. Search engines replaced librarians. I have spreadsheets instead of accountants. AWS replaced entire IT departments. But now that automation closes the loop, now that AI systems can read and decide and act and persist, that's where we draw the line? I mean, there's no excuse not to go and watch the sessions from GTC. There's a sign-up link below. You should use that. But also, if you're going to lean into the anti-AI stuff, do it for real. Go see what the enemy is doing. There are some amazing talks from amazing people there that are using the tools to do good, not AI slop, not anything else.
I just wanted to talk a little bit about how Opentron's, like what their physical AI work is. So what we're doing is we are integrating robot execution, and we're using real-time sensors and adaptive control to create closed-loop biological workflows, enabling that. And try to give you an application specific. So everybody's talking about drug discovery. One of the workflows for that is cell culture. It's really complicated, it's really manual. There's a lot of times that a scientist has to go back and check on something and go, ooh, that's not ready yet. I'm gonna walk away and check it again. And what we're trying to do is remove all of that. Precision medicine is about growing patient cells. It's not a fast process. There's lots of manual steps. But if we train the robots in the right way, what we can do is we can make it so that a scientist can set something up. They can define certain parameters, and then the robot will check for you and then say, ooh, it's not ready, so that the scientist doesn't have to keep doing that. They can focus on things in the laboratory that are more important.
Listen, I want the same thing that you want, a better world to live in. And the barrier for building a platform to demand that and demand accountability has never been lower. Getting there is going to be a little bit messy and chaotic, probably. Things will break, probably. AI hallucinates and makes mistakes, and of course it does dumb things. Of course it does. So did every abstraction layer we've ever built. And anyone telling you that you can turn off your brain is lying. And we should hold those folks accountable, because you can't. I mean, a computer must never make a decision because a computer must never be held accountable. And I'm certain that the worst of humanity is going to do really bad things with these tools, but it's also very Promethean. Well, Pandora's box, jar, whatever you want to call it, is already open at this point. If companies recklessly deploy AI surveillance that falsely flag motorists or hold grannies in jail for 6 months, then the executives in that company, or the law enforcement that's too incompetent to do their job, should be held legally responsible. That is common sense. That doesn't mean that the fire has been stolen from the gods should not be used at all. It should be used for the good of all. This is something that I or anyone can run myself. I'm talking about OpenClaw now, on my own hardware, hooked into my own systems, at least at a small scale. And that's really exciting. So the magic here is tool calling. You have a tool call to do a thing. Home Assistant can summon the Ninja, and as long as there is a cup in it and it's ready to go, it will automatically start. So tea, Earl Grey, hot, when it's listening, will kick this thing on automatically. Thanks, Jarvis. See, you do that from upstairs, and then you just come downstairs and it's ready to go, assuming that no one stole your cup. If somebody stole your cup, it's a mess. Tea, Earl Grey, hot. This is Jarvis. It's kind of like Jarvis and the computer from Star Trek. It's hooked up through Home Assistant running NemoClaw, which runs OpenClaw in a sandbox. It's a computer. It doesn't get happy. It doesn't get sad. It just runs programs. And here, the running program understood the intent, Earl Grey tea, and acted. Now, I already had the Keurig loaded up for that, but Jensen said AI operating systems. Maybe this is starting to feel like stealing fire from the gods, but I could see talking to an AI doing this. And everybody at GTC, they weren't asking, should this exist? They were asking, how do I use this productively? How do I augment my own productivity? So maybe that's the real divide here. I don't see the technology as dangerous. The people, maybe, but not the technology. This is probably the least dangerous disruptive technology in the history of mankind. We, the people, need to understand this technology and trust that we understand the technology and trust people to help advise us on how best to wield the technology for the good of humanity. And sure, hindsight is 20/20. People may look back and say, wait, this guy that's in the news all the time, he was the Thomas Midgley Jr. of that age. Maybe. If you haven't heard of Midgley, he was the guy that came up with both adding lead to gasoline and also chlorofluorocarbons. He's probably the single human responsible for more ecological damage than any other human in the history of civilization. He was just trying to solve engineering problems. And sure, some monsters may have perpetuated let's just keep we'll lose some profits when they knew something was wrong. That's, again, accountability. As a society, I'm saying we've done this before. We build something incredibly useful, scale it globally, only to later realize what it actually does to the world and take corrective actions. Dismissing AI as slop or pretending it's not happening is not a strategy. The strategy here is accountability and transparency. The bad outcome for humanity is not when AI replaces labor. It's when AI replaces decision making. And everyone seems to be ambivalent to that. It's like, I can just say AI slop and that's the extent of my responsibilities. I seem to have strayed somewhat. Let's talk about NemoClaw. NemoClaw is guardrails, which is great to see. The tokens for agentic AI given agency to be able to execute tasks, can come on device from small scale, like DGX Spark behind me, bigger engines like we saw with DGX Station from Supermicro, or even machines like Supermicro's Vera Rubin NVL72 running in the cloud, because the cloud, after all, is really just someone else's computer. Hundreds of people spent their days at GTC configuring their claws, mostly running on DGX Spark, and sharing configurations and skills, and that was pretty exciting to see.
But to explain the difference between NemoClaw and OpenClaw is that they're absolutely complementary. So OpenClaw is the project that kind of took the world by storm. It is the base layer that builds you the agent that you can interact with on any messaging app that gets smarter over time. But
it carries out tasks.
It does. It carries out tasks. Jensen said today that you're no longer telling AI what, how, when, who. It's do, make, learn. You're giving commands and it's actually going off and performing tasks. And then NemoClaw is the initiative with OpenShell, which released today, which is actually to basically add some security guardrails around these long-running autonomous agents. Because if you give it access to what's called a lethal trifecta, access to sensitive data, access to the internet, and then the ability to basically write its own stuff or do things that you're not expecting, then it can basically exfiltrate sensitive stuff, which you don't want to have happen. And so OpenShell and the NemoClaw plugin is meant to secure down those 3 enforcement points with policies that you set, and actually it'll even ask you. So let's say that, it's going to try and do something that it thinks it can't do. It'll let you know and say, hey, do you want to allow me to do this? And you say yes. And then it has a policy so it can do it in the future, but it won't just do it by default, which means by default, you're much more secure.
You're asking me to juggle chainsaws. Are you sure you want me to do that?
Exactly. Or production keys in this case.
Oops, that's how you get an $87,000 API key.
That's
built.
exactly right.
It has been absolutely insane to see the growth in open models and how useful they are, but then turning things loose where you can take the human out of the bottleneck position a little bit is probably how I'd want to describe that. But still with supervision and still
Absolutely.
with some guardrails.
Well, that's what Jensen said today as well. Like, you're always along the critical path now, because if you're offloading the work that you know it can do, previously you would think about how to solve a problem, and then the actual implementation would still be a human. And oftentimes that was less cognitively challenging, because it's like, oh, I already know what I need to do. Now I just need to go do it. But if the just go do it is now offloaded, then most of your time is spent thinking through problems.
In this context, it's an assistant, but building our durable artifacts that will persist once the AI is not involved. I mean, the AI is involved in building it, but the AI doesn't have to be involved in the actual operation, meaning that you're using AI to help you build something, and once the thing is built, it does the task. AI is not the whole story. By lines of code, Home Assistant did more work to make me a cup of tea than my AI assistant Jarvis did in figuring that out. But Jarvis was the glue for making that happen. Randos are cobbling together skills for these AI agents, and the utility of these AI agents are why NVIDIA are adding CPU-only compute nodes to their Vera Rubin deployments. We talked to Charlie Boyle about that, and I was surprised that NVIDIA was leaning so much into agentic AI.
So we're starting out right here, and this is our new Vera rack. And the reason, Jensen talked about in the keynote, the need for more CPUs and AI computing. When you're thinking about agentic work, I do a lot of GPU computing, but it needs to also do a lot of thinking. If I'm asking it to build code, I need to do unit tests. Well, unit tests are just things that run on CPUs. So now in a modern AI factory, you have a recipe for every 8 Vera Rubin racks. You add 1 rack of Vera. That's 256 Veras in that rack, coupled with that NVL 570 or NVL 72 rack sitting right there. You put 8 of those together, and now I have 1 Vera for every Rubin that's in my AI factory in that pod to allow me to do that agentic work that I want to do. The CPU is working hard. It's making sure the GPU is doing everything.
I mean, think about that. These NVIDIA racks have machines that they're adding to the deployment that contain only Vera CPUs, no GPUs, to be able to execute on what the AI is thinking about over on the GPU racks. Jarvis is just one comical form of agentic AI. Coding is another. For complex tasks, you have multiple AIs maybe. A project manager AI, an engineering AI, other manager type AIs, validation AIs that are doing testing, all up and down the product stack. The highest and best use of these tools is to augment and extend the capabilities of humans. And that's what people are doing at GTC. Now, NemoClaw, OpenClaw, how does Supermicro fit into this? Supermicro gives you the hardware to move up to. If you start with DGX Spark, okay, that's great, but DGX Station is a lot more hardware. And we saw that at the Supermicro booth when we asked it to put together my perfect numbers program. It not only put together the program, put together the whole project and documented it. And this platform runs just the same on DGX Station as it does on Supermicro's GPU server platforms. You got 8 GPUs in a rack mount chassis serving your work group. That's a lot of local AI power for your team to develop on and develop new ideas and work with the new technology. I also like what NVIDIA is doing with NemoClaw, sandboxing it somewhat and giving you some visibility into what OpenClaw is trying to do at the network level and at the application level. So with the NemoClaw platform, you'll be able to see what your claw is actually doing, and that's maybe a little more safe in a corporate environment. Just a little. I think there are, and have always been, more smart and reasonable people in the world than those that would seek to undermine civilized society. I think with these tools, we can have better transparency into the true motivations of people and better accountability without the Orwellian aspects necessarily. If you're the type of person to reflexively comment AI slop, I would ask that you turn that energy toward accountability and working toward meaningful change for the better. You might come around to the tooling that we have here to turn it toward that mission. It's like, there's never been a better time to actively participate in the future. The future is what we make of it, and I, for one, am not sitting idly by. I'm Wendell, this is Level 1. This has been a quick look at OpenClaw and NemoClaw, but also the future of humanity. Let's build a computer from Star Trek. I don't know. I'm having fun. I'm signing out, and I'll see you in the Level 1 forums.